So really excited to get the call started. Hope you guys are having a really good beginning to the beginning of your year. If you have fitness goals, if you have nutrition goals, where you're at with your non-negotiables with regards to, what you're doing in your business, in your personal life, in your finances, some of these aspects, we've kind of been in this contraction, if you will, cleaning the house, decluttering, notebook. We watch all the what do they call the New Year's resolutioners coming into the gym. The gym is crazy busy right now. It's like interesting to observe the patterns of everything. And been sharing the business with a lot of people, been getting the wheels churning for customers, for influencers, and had this thought this week, like an impression this week where I was like, hey, Peyton, do you think we could talk about nutrition? What if we could make our call focused to where you could send this call to somebody that was not doing the business part, but had goals in life, wanted to be a little better, was drinking our product, and maybe wanted a few hacks of how they could lose weight faster, build muscle faster, adjust their biological compositions, and kind of sustain what our product does in that a little bit. So that was kind of the intention of tonight on our call tonight, was more so coming from that place. And so I just want to talk a little bit about what we are. You're a soul inside of a bone mech with self-regenerating meat armor. You're consuming bioelectricity, proteins, a bunch of different electric foods and things, and then you're digesting them and it's somehow sustaining your life. There's an electrical side, there's a physical side, so to speak. And so, I mean, they have an aspect of measurement, like the Egyptians used to measure food in terms of angstroms. Today, we would use megahertz or hertz, the electrical content of food. That's that crisp you get when food is fresh. There's something to be said about consuming life, whether that's meat or vegetables or things that way. There's an electrical side, there's a breathing side, there's all these aspects. And I'm like, well, how could we condense it down? And I was like, okay, I was like 30 pounds heavier than I am now. I said, I want to lose like 30 pounds. What should I do? So the first question for me was, how does fat leave the body? Because that seems like a good place to start. And all the research said exhaling and through your urine. So I'm like reading about all this, and I realized if you wake up in the morning and you pound water first thing in the morning, we're talking like, I don't know, 32 ounces, like a drink of mason jar, you'll start flushing urine out. You'll notice it in the toilet. You'll see bubbles and different things. It's like, that's a fast way to jumpstart the system. Metabolism is another one. Your metabolism is like the way my reference point, I would say like a flywheel, but remember the old school wheel that you would all get on and it would throw you off, people would throw up. Getting that first revolution took like running and pushing with a couple people, and then it started to spin and it was easier. Your metabolism is the same thing. The heavier the content you take in earlier, the harder it's working off the rest of the day. So it's a good time to eat carbohydrates. That's a good time to drink some juice, but that is a phenomenal time to take in protein. Because if you're taking protein in, then think about a lion, think about a snake, think about these carnivores. They eat like half their body weight in meat, and then they rest for like a while. Well, if you're taking in some protein, it's going to help you with the fat side of things. Peyton can go in more detail of that. But then when you're consuming food in the morning, I go back to like high school. Do you remember when you were in high school? If you go remember, like, and you wouldn't eat lunch. I mean, it might be relevant in your life now. You just wake up, you don't have breakfast, you go about your day, and then lunchtime hits and you eat. But there was this aspect when you would eat breakfast or eat something on the way out. You can't even make it to lunch. You can't even make it to lunch. You're hungry. You got to eat something. That's like a direct representation of your metabolism doing what metabolisms do. So here's a hack. Wake up in the morning, pound a bunch of water. That's the first part. You'll flush. Then take in some protein and carb up. Well, I used to eat oatmeal with like honey and berries in there. And it was like all of this carbohydrates, because then the body has to work so hard to digest it. And then your metabolism is churning like a really fast merry-go-round. Now eat something at lunch, eat something at dinner, whatever, snack, it doesn't matter. Just don't eat after dinner. If you just do those things, you'll hack your system in such a way. Now, if you wanted to go to that next level, you would like slow down on the carbs or go more to like vegetables for the carbs as the day ends. And then you'd like avoid some sugars and stuff because sugars are really hard on the body and inflammatory. But those would be the thoughts. Here's another way to lose weight really, really fast. And I was pacing to this so you'd have an understanding. Do some kind of muscle exercise of some sort. Peyton's going to talk a little bit about that. He's like a phenomenal athlete and trains and hit the level. And when I go to work out with him, it's a whole different game relative to what it's like. He just knows. But physical activity, if I work a muscle group, my muscles are burning and consuming like a metabolism equal to the merry-go-round I already started by the food. That is such a profoundly powerful thing because now I'm doing 2 times the processing power because I did some kind of muscle workout, whether that's some push-ups or sit-ups, and he can get into a little bit of that side of it. But movement, because we're generating electricity in our body when we move it, just like that car that you push a couple times and then it just rolls. It's that same thing. We're generating electricity. That wheel starts turning and then we create the other wheel. Now we've got metabolism meets the aspect of the muscle like a metabolism. And so the more muscle groups you work, the more metabolism is going. It's all in your favor. That's one side. Here's the other side. Acid. Think about it. When you work out and you get sore, you're building up lactic what? Acid. It's like stressing creates acid in the body. Acid comes in from a whole bunch of different factors, the food you eat, the chemicals you're processing or trying to process, the outside environment. Acid is coming into the body. When the body doesn't know what to do with excess acid, it takes alkalinity reserves to 1-to-1 ratio, cancel out the acid. But when it doesn't have enough alkalinity because you haven't been on an alkaline diet and you're not taking something that alkalizes you, what ends up happening is the acid has to find a place to go. So it takes fat from you, fat from what you're eating, and it binds the fat as the binder inside of it covers the acid in fat. And it uses a little bit of magnesium and a little calcium, literally robbing from your bones. That's why when people get older, they're like shorter. You're eating yourself because you're not getting the minerals that your body needs to survive. And then it takes it from the teeth too. That's why we have so much dental problems now and decay where we didn't used to have it before, because minerals, you're lacking minerals. So your body takes it from the top down, and you see it. You can see it in the people that are on like the methamphetamines and stuff where they don't sleep for a long time and they look sunken in their skull, their skin, their body, it's eating itself to stay alive. So there's an aspect of an alkalinity component to your diet. What's the fastest way to raise your pH? Probably a shot of baking soda. You take a shot of baking soda, boom, it goes up. A shot of apple cider vinegar, boom, it goes up. Quick hacks to adjust the pH. But if you're working out, it creates acid in your system. So if you're already living an acidic lifestyle and an acidic diet and you're working out, you're creating more acid. So there has to be another component, something that alkalizes you. Well, alkalinity comes from green things that are alive. Back to the electricity component. Alkalinity is like something that you need in your body so deeply, and usually the alkaline components also contain minerals. So that's kind of fascinating that there's that. So if your alkalinity reserves have depleted, your body is storing fat no matter how much you work, no matter how good your diet is. Well, the diet makes a huge difference. If your diet is bad and you're working out with a bad diet, it's not going to do the same. It's like you need the alkalinity, because when you get more alkalinity, the body discards the fat that it was storing with the acid in it, because you have enough alkaline to get the acid to go, if that makes sense. So a hack that you can do that helps with weight loss would be to consume something that is green. Like, God forbid it had minerals or it came from very mineral rich soil. And so from that standpoint, it's like there are so many things that you could be taking, but ours sources better, is better, and it blesses people's lives. It helps with so many aspects of the body. So I wanted to bring Peyton on. I was just going to talk a little bit about that, some of the hacks and how this blesses like the body and helps the body work in a congruent way. But when it comes to hacking the body, I do not know of a better human. He's been a competitive athlete for a really long time span, and he goes through ebbs and flows in his life where he's always tweaking different things and trying different stuff. He idled at an 8-pack for a year, and the guy's eating like cereal and just all manner of like burritos and things. Like, it almost seemed like he wasn't on a diet. He was idling at a way where he just had his body in a state where his workouts didn't have to be crazy, his food didn't have to be that much, and he was getting the result. And so I couldn't think of a better person to have come follow all this up. So Peyton, will you take it over and close it out?
Yeah, awesome. Actually, I'm gonna right at the end, I'm gonna bring you back in and tie it all together because you know, if you're just watching this for the first time, or if this is something that you're sharing with somebody, you know, the context of this call, of course, is AAO and active greens. And I think one of the things that I've learned is over the years, many, many years now, like Kevin said, you know, I found my way into the gym. Interestingly, I was in a sport that was not the type of sport that people trained for. So you know, I was in like an alternative sport, freestyle skiing, and it very much was kind of like a renegade sport at the time. And so we as a culture and a community were pushing away from the people that were coming from structure and that were coming from the U.S. ski team and regiments and coaches and so forth and so on. And so I found my way into the gym originally for two reasons. So basically, one summer I was coaching at camp, and I hurt my ankle on the trampoline. And so this is a summer camp where you get to go skiing in the summertime. It's pretty prestigious. It's difficult to get a job there and to be there. And so to get hurt while you're at camp is really discouraging because you are missing out on the very opportunity that you went there for. And it was the summer of 2008, and I had gotten hurt. And so to kill time in the day when everybody at camp was out on the hill, I found my way into the gym. And it was when I got in the gym that I realized that my goal was actually aesthetic. And the first thing I want to kind of talk about is that we live in a culture right now. There's kind of an interesting phenomenon existing where we have a ton of people that are attracted to an aesthetic goal. So, I mean, obviously the beauty industry is enormous. The health and fitness business is enormous. The New Year's resolutioners, that group of people is enormous. I've been a part of that group. I'm going to change everything. I've been in elite shape. I've been very far from elite shape. I've experienced both ends of that. And whether you are attracted to saying, hey, I want to look the best I've ever looked, or whether you are pushing away from that and saying, I don't want to care about that. I don't want to create body dysmorphia. I don't want to, you know, create that type of insecurity. I don't want to measure my success based off of something external. What I would say is, whichever camp that you're in, realize that what has been normalized in our culture is not actually normal. So what I mean by that is that, of course, you have these extreme examples. You have people that struggle deeply with eating disorders, body dysmorphia, some of these aspects, people that are very, very, very fit that continue to just want more and loathe themselves. But on the other end of the spectrum, our health as a culture in the first world, whether it's here or in Europe or in Australia or wherever, has gotten so bad that what's normal shouldn't be normal at all. I looked at a statistic today that basically showed that half of everybody is on, it basically is categorized or in some realm of mental health struggle, in some realm of pre-diabetic state, too heavy, arthritis, soreness, inflammation. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, the things that people are dealing with. And part of that is because of the lack of nutrition. Part of that's because of the lack of food supply. But I believe part of that is because we just normalized as a culture, just like less than okay. And I realized the other day when I saw a statistic, it said that you are more likely in the United States of America to have $1 million by statistic. This is a real statistic. You're more likely to have $1 million than to have a six-pack, meaning that, you have a low enough body composition that you can actually see some definition in your muscles. And I'm not saying that, people of different ages and people of different athleticism and people of different body compositions, like, for sure, that's not the benchmark of what health is, right? Like, I'm not here to tell you what your image of healthy is. But to me, that's crazy because most people would think, like, wow, a millionaire is extraordinary, right? And that we've gotten to a place in our culture where the times that I've been the fittest are when I have had people tell me the most aggressive things of like, ew, like you're not healthy, or you're on some crazy diet, or all these things. It's like, literally, I'm just managing inflammation in my body, and I'm just fueling my body with the right amount of stuff to have a high athletic output. and I look and feel great. And that's when you get the most pushback. So what does that whole explanation have to do with this? It's that we're in a business of influence. And not just in AAO, our life is a business of influence. Kevin used to say that our life is our message, and your message is either going to be an inspiration or a warning. That's a bit of a paraphrase. But I think about that constantly. I said, if we're going to be in the business of influencing people, if we're going to be in the business of fundamentally helping people, then how can we help people the most? And it's my belief that, you know, Brenda actually had put a post up in the last day or two, and it said basically, you know, all these different categories of abundance and of choice and of well-being and all these things, 1 through 4. And then number 5 said that if you don't have your health, 1 through 4 don't matter at all. And so I believe that we can affect and impact the most amount of people by, first of all, dialing our own personal health in, and then 2, living that consistently in the long term, because we're in a day and age today where there's more distraction and there are more attacks on our attention than ever before in history. And so there's a new voice or a new influencer or a new opinion or a new workout program or a new diet or a new whatever. I mean, literally every single time that we open up the phone. And so what does that have to do with us creating influence? Well, what that means is that the only way for us to create influence is to lock into truth, right? Because eventually, if you start with the truth, you'll always get there in the end. So if the truth is good enough, right? So if you get to truth and then you live that truth long term, eventually you become a pillar of influence, right? And then that is how we start to help people. Because I'll tell you what has happened for me over the years, and I don't live it perfect, right? I have my own demons. I got my own things that I got to work on. I have to, investigate some of the reasons why I, have peaks and valleys, and some of them are mindset related, and some of them are unsustainable practices that I have learned. That's part of the journey, right? But as a result of choosing sobriety, as a result of eating clean, as a result of spending time in the gym, and as a result, my reputation has become one of somebody that's a fairly fit person. So as a result, it's not uncommon when people are looking to increase their physicality, when they're looking to increase their mobility, looking to improve their physique, that they reach out to me. So that's a point of influence. Now, if we have an environment where we have people that are living above average lives, and I mean that in every sense of the word, above average lives in influence, above average lives in health, above average lives in relationship, above average lives in options, and above average lives in income, and we herald that message, we do that together day in, day out for long enough, then it's a byproduct of that people will become part of the cause. So that's kind of my bird's eye view of why this is so important. The second part of this too is that it feels incredible to be connected to what your body is capable of at an optimized level. It feels incredible. Clothes fit differently. You walk into rooms differently. If you're into any type of activity, physical activity at all, I mean, it just, the way that you can participate that is incredible. If you're a grandfather, like my father's about to turn 70 years old, and he's full on with the grandkids, 8 years old, 5 years old when he's here. He's on the ground, he's playing with them, they're doing piggyback rides, he's skiing with them. It doesn't just have to be about vanity. It doesn't have to be about like being young and in the gym or anything like that. It's just having a high quality of life. So here's a couple of really simple fundamentals that I would say is that if you haven't allowed yourself permission recently to decide, like, I'm going to look like a boss, okay? Whatever that means to you. Maybe you want to size up a little bit. Maybe you want to lean down a little bit. Maybe you just want to feel great. Maybe you want to put on a little bit of muscle. Maybe there's a sport that you want to participate in better. Maybe you want to be able to hike a hike that you've never hiked before. Maybe you want to look good with your clothes off, right? Like, these are real reasons to do this. But allow yourself the permission to say, I'm going to do that for me. I don't care what anybody else says. I don't care if people say I'm on a crazy diet. I don't care if people say, oh, I'm on some, fitness challenge or I'm a freak or any of these things. The next thing I'm going to say is once you give yourself permission, then allow yourself to lock into that desire. Because if you have desire, all the rest of it's really, really simple. I'm going to lay out just like a 4-step plan here. Super, super simple way for anybody, any age, any ability level to get in remarkable shape. But if you let that idea foster in your mind, there's a beautiful video that's out there, and it's a video of this grandfather, and he picks up a kettlebell and he does it over and over and over again. And You can't figure out why he's going to do it. And then all of a sudden, what the reason that he finally does it is so that on Christmas Day, he can pick up his grandchild and hold the grandchild up. And so the grandchild can put the star on the top of the Christmas tree. And that's his why, right? So if we fall in love with a compelling why, we know that if we help ourselves, we can help other people. And on top of that, if we, put the oxygen mask on ourselves first, then great things can happen in our business, in our lives, and with the people around us. So here's what I'm going to say. First step, like Kevin said, drink half your body weight in ounces of water daily, right? So if you weigh 200 pounds, drink 100 ounces daily. You can drink more than that, but that's a great starting point. 2, you only need to go to the gym 2, maybe 3 days per week. That's the truth of it. And you're going to focus on your 5 major muscle groups. That's going to be your legs, front and back. So we can go into a little bit more detail. Legs, back, chest, shoulders, and then pulling, right? So basically in any given week, and it doesn't matter whether you've never been in the gym, you can find videos on YouTube where you can just literally do push-ups off of your knees for the first time, and you can do bodyweight squats all the way up to if you're well-versed in the weight room. So you're going to focus on those 5 muscle groups. And then the last thing you're going to do is you are going to walk for 45 minutes daily. That formula combined with what Kevin described of eating enough protein. So if you eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight that you want to be, you do those 4 things. 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months from now, you will be looking great. You'll be feeling great. You'll be moving great. And that fundamentally is the pillar of influence. So I'm going to finish with this. Kevin's got something he's going to show for us. Starting is one of the most difficult things for most people. And the beautiful part about Active Greens is that starting with that daily behavior, drinking that product alone, going to help a ton of people. Drinking that product alone, not going to turn you into your superhero body. Can help, has some necessary components to it, right? But that alone is not going to do it. But it can act as the catalyst to help get you started, right? It can be the thing that you say, you know what, I'm going to do it different this year. I'm going to do it different in 2023. And you start drinking your Active Greens, you start doing those other things that we talked about. You let that desire burn in your mind to think, what would it be like to get to June or July of this year? Because it's June or July that we find out who was messing around with their New Year's resolutions, right? And you say, what would it feel like to be walking in a room and people be like, dude, you are unrecognizable. If you got goosebumps when you thought of that, like, it's your year. Let's do it. So with that, KG, I think you got something for us.
Oh, Peyton, that was so good. I got the burning desire. It's funny, Peyton entered my life a year ago. I'm going to put this on the screen. Peyton entered my life a year ago. And will you tell me, Peyton, unmute so I know if it's showing up on the screen? Can you see that?
Yeah,
you
we got it.
Okay. I was going to say, Peyton enters my life and my standards raise. He was the catalyst for me. I start to be like more about it. And then I got really, really hype about working out. And it was just an internal decision that I'm going to love the process of working out from now on. You can see it on the screen? Okay. Play this. Can you hear it? And I gotta figure out how to stop sharing. Okay, man, that gets me every time.
It's week 3 of drinking shrooms, and I've never felt better. And no, not.
Sorry about that. I was gonna say, one thing that's powerful about that video is you don't know what they're advertising until the end. Another thing that's powerful is it's driven by the why, just like what we do in Against All Odds. I talk to people about my why all the time. And sometimes it inspires them to have a why or to want to talk about their why. Sometimes I ask people about their why because I want to know what that is. If it's fitness, I can help them. If it's something to do with themselves, I'll help them. And I always bring up the green juice because I believe, and I believe this, that everyone needs what we have. Every single soul should be on our product because their body's not getting that very well. And whatever their why is, this guy's why in the video is to be able to do the star on the tree. And to see him get his why chokes me up. And I can't wait until I'm a grandparent. And the work I put in now is setting the stage for that. But we're never too old to get started. It's never too late to get started. So getting so clear about your why, so there's a burning desire, that's the goal. We thought we would focus on fitness this time. We're going to focus on financial next week, and that's going to be a really powerful call if you want to build for that. And then if you're on YouTube watching this, I guess you could get on there and see the financial one, but that's next week. And I thank you guys for being on the call tonight. I hope you guys have a good week this week and share Active Greens with some people and get some customers and some people to look at the business, because that's what I'm going to do, and I'm excited about it. Thank you.